Good afternoon. So the day today's gospel occurs may be my most favorite day in all of Jesus's public ministry in the region of Galilee. So why is it my most favorite day? Well, recall the context of what has happened up to this point that we hear this gospel. We're in Matthew 14. Do you recall what happened earlier in the day? The disciples had just witnessed Jesus multiply 5 loaves and 2 fishes to feed 5,000 men along with their families, right? After that long and tiring day, and after dismissing that huge crowd, Jesus wants to go up to the mountain and spend some QT with his Father, praying throughout the night, right? And so Jesus tells the disciples to get in the boat and that he eventually will meet them on the other side of the Sea of Galilee. Now imagine with me, if you will, in your mind's eye, the scene by that Sea of Galilee. Because remember, this isn't just an easy pontoon ride over to the other side of Vandercook Lake or something like that, right? The Sea of Galilee is about 7 miles east to west, and then about 13 miles north to south. So it's a huge lake, right? And so the small sail on a typical fishing boat back then would have been no use in a swirling storm. So that's a lot of rowing, right? A lot of doing this for hours on end. And so the Galilean fishing boats of that time were probably a little bit longer than your typical pontoon boat. And it had a maximum capacity of about 15 people. So the disciples were in this massive storm in a huge lake, and the gospel passage said that they were many furlongs away from land. So you're talking about a few miles offshore. And the gospel tells us that they're going against the wind, and that it was already 4th watch of the night. So what time is that? Well, remember the first watch begins at 6 p.m., goes till 9. Second watch from 9 p.m. to 12 p.m., or 12 a.m., I should say. Third watch, 12 a.m. to 3 a.m. So the 4th watch of the night, this is after 3 a.m. in the morning, and they're still out there, right? They're totally exhausted, and they were just still in the middle of the lake. And because of that strong wind causing havoc on the lake, the waves are just tossing that boat around, filling it with water. So these very experienced fishermen began to panic, right? Water is like second nature to them. But because of how tempestuous this storm was, they probably thought they were going to drown there. Right? Being so exhausted that they wouldn't be able to swim offshore if something capsized, right? And then, on top of it all, they see this mysterious figure out in the distance walking on water. And they probably thought it was some grim reaper figure coming to take them into their death. And the gospel passage said that the disciples, they cried out in fear, so scared they were. But as he got closer to the boat, Jesus yells out, "Take courage, it is I, do not be afraid." Now, if you've been following The Chosen, they did a marvelous job with the scene, love it. The Apostle Thomas has a great line at this point, and he yells out, "How is this the second most incredible thing I've witnessed today?" Right? Referring to the fact that he had just witnessed Jesus feeding thousands with just 5 loaves and 2 fish and had 12 wicker baskets left over. Right? How is this Jesus walking on the water the second most incredible thing I've seen today? And the Jonathan Rumi Jesus responds, "This surprises you? Did you not learn nothing from today?" Jesus is teaching his disciples, revealing to them experientially through the feeding of the 5,000, and now by saving them from the storm, his true divine identity. He's stretching their idea of what they thought the Messiah was, who they thought he was, and from what he really came to save them. And that's when Peter does that, his impetuous Peter thing, right? He says, Lord, if it is you, command me to come out to you on the water. And if you remember in The Chosen, Peter is having some personal issues with Jesus at this time. The producer, Dallas Jenkins, includes this side story about Peter's wife, Eden. We don't know what Peter's wife's real name is, as the scriptures don't mention it. But in The Chosen, Eden suffers a miscarriage of their child. And so both Peter and Eden are in deep pain for their loss. And Peter thinks Jesus should have done something about it. Meanwhile, Jesus is going around throughout Galilee, healing complete strangers left and right, Gentiles even, mind you, God forbid, and seemingly neglecting the needs of the ones closest to him. We know, of course, Jesus' bigger plan in hindsight, but in the limited vision and the interior pain of those closest to him, they don't get it. They don't understand the bigger plan. And Jesus senses Peter's anguish in this scene, so Jesus asks Peter, why are you so upset? So the swirling storm now is symbolic of the interior storm that's going on in Peter's heart. And from the boat, Peter responds, why are you chasing after Gentiles when your own people have problems right here? When your own person, meaning him, the guy who made the rock, when your own person has problems. I've been right here in front of you, believing in you. You're breaking up fights in the Decapolis, which is, where the Gentiles lived across the way. The Chosen then uses this moment to incorporate the words Jesus that he had just said earlier in the Gospel of Matthew, but applying it now personally to Peter. Jesus tells him, come to me. Weary, you who are weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And by golly, Peter gets out of that boat, starts walking on the water towards Jesus. Friends, our faith in Jesus, that's what connects us with the one who has the power for us to do the impossible. But it's doubt that disconnects us from that power. The big challenge then is keeping our eyes fixed on Jesus and not being distracted by all the anxieties and temptations and preoccupations of the world, and from taking our own personal woundedness and projecting that on to God, that we lose faith in him who can have us walk on water. And it's when we begin to doubt him and when we rely on ourselves that we begin to sink. Right? When Peter saw how strong the wind was, he became frightened and he began to sink. But that's when Peter cries out, Lord, save me. And Jesus stretches out his hand to Peter. And while Peter is there, safe in his arms, Jesus teaches him, oh, you of little faith, why? Why did you doubt? And in The Chosen, there's this very moving scene of Peter just clinging to Jesus for dear life. And he repeats this constant refrain, don't let me go, please, don't let me go. I'm sorry, don't let me go. And so as Peter is in Jesus' arms repeating that refrain, Jesus tells Peter, I have much planned for you. Simon, I have much planned for you, Simon, including hard things. Just keep your eyes on me, I promise. And as the scene pans out from the boat and Jesus shouts, be still, peace. The waters subside, the storm clears, and the only, Matthew's gospel, it's the only version that includes today's ending, that the Gospels reveal that, hey, these disciples are learning. Because after that happened, the gospel says, hey, they did him homage, saying, truly you are the Son of God. And some translations, instead of they did him homage, it says, those in the boat worshiped him. Now, who's the only one worthy of worship? God, right? He's the only one worthy of worship. And so the disciples begin to have a clue that the Father and the Son are not two, but in some mysterious way, one. Friends, what are the storms of life that can make you feel like you're gonna go under? You know, life can be so overwhelming at times. And like Peter, we may even blame God for neglecting us or being indifferent to our pain. Heck, we might even be jealous of the incredible things Jesus is doing in other people's lives. But Jesus is telling us today, through this gospel, that he knows when you're struggling, and to have faith in him, to trust in him, to keep our eyes fixed on him, no matter how difficult things get, no matter how tempestuous the personal storms may be in our lives. Jesus is near. Every Mass that we celebrate is a reminder of that profound reality. Jesus is near. God is with us. The one who has the power over all things mysteriously reveals to us on the cross how love himself wields that power at the service of love. That he doesn't take away the suffering, but he enters into it with us. So God is not ignoring you. He is with you in the most intimate ways he can be on this side of reality. Jesus is always near. Just a matter of whether or not we've let the things of this world distract us from that reality, from recognizing him in the tiny whispering voice of our silent daily prayer, or in the appearance of mere bread and wine on this altar. Today, Jesus extends his hand to you. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me. Come to me, you weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. And as you approach Jesus during Holy Communion, respond to him as Peter did. Grasp his hand, cling to his whole body, which he literally gives you on this altar. And Father Randy will place on your tongue or your hand and cry out repeatedly with Peter, don't let me go, please. I'm sorry. Don't let me go. Don't let me go.